If they sell it at 25, it would be around 28.85 billion pesos in terms of what they're actually raising. That being said, also, they would be raising around 1.053 billion common shares and an option to sell secondary shares at 101 million pesos. The secondary shares, which form part of the over-allotment option, are shares that are owned by Henry C. Jr. and Robert Q. Todd Jr. as well, which right now, both of them hold a large chunk of the shares of Synergy. Hey guys, so in this video, we're going to talk about another listing that's happening in the Philippine Stock Exchange. I want to talk about the holding firm Synergy Grid and Development Philippines. This is a follow-on offering, meaning the company is already listed in the Philippine stock market. Please do note that an IPO is a private company selling shares to become a publicly listed company. For a follow-on offering, this is already a company that's listed, that's selling shares to be able to raise money, at least also in this context, also to meet some of the requirements that are required by law. Synergy Grid and Development Philippines is the mother company or the holding company of the National Grid Corporation, or NGCP, which is the sole concessionaire of the government's transmission assets for 25 years. So think about it as a way to transmit power and energy in the Philippines. So given the statement I said earlier, sole concessionaire, it's a monopoly. It gives them predictability in terms of their earnings. But above and beyond predictability for their earnings, think about that there will not be any other competitor that could dislodge their earnings. And that being said, also, monopolies / sole concessionaires, it's very, very important to look at how long their contracts are, and their transmission assets are for 25 years and with an extension option up until 2059. So that gives you somehow predictability that since they have a very, very long concession period, the ability for them to earn and the threat of them actually losing the potential to earn would not be there. Since Synergy owns shares in NGCP, one of the ways for you to be able also to look at the value of Synergy is by looking at NGCP. As of June 2021, NGCP operates around 20,732 circuit kilometers of transmission lines, 41,696 average megawatts of substation capacity, and they have a very, very stable customer base of around 400 companies. So think about it this way. Customers nila yung mga electric cooperatives, customers nila yung nag-distribute dun sa mga localities. So to put a parallel to it, they're like the highway. So at least so you have a broad context of how the business is. And my opinion, that's very, very important if you want to invest in the stock market. So that's what I always say, don't just buy it just because it's talked about here. But above and beyond me sharing the information to all of you, I want you to look at it that every time you invest into something, you look at it as a business. That as you look at it as a business, you need to know ano yung negosyo ng kumpanya and how they're actually making money, because knowing it will give you already an understanding if this is something that will fit you or not. Because at the end of the day, there will be people who will invest in this and there will be people who will not invest in this. But the best thing that you could ever do is you invest based on the information that you have, and if it's something that fits you or not. Because I'll say this over and over, there's no such thing as a perfect investment. It's all about finding an investment that works well and fits you. So like what you'd always ask, how much money will be raised for this listing? The total money that they would raise is around 28.85 billion, assuming that it's in the higher side of the listing price. So the listing price right now, the lower end would be around 15 pesos per share and the higher end would be around 25 pesos per share. Again, the higher the range, the higher the money that they would raise. And at the end of the day, companies, institutions are in the market to be able to raise as much money as they can. So if they sell it at 25, it would be around 28.85 billion pesos in terms of what they're actually raising. That being said, also, they would be raising around 1.053 billion common shares and an option to sell secondary shares at 101 million pesos. The secondary shares, which form part of the over-allotment option, are shares that are owned by Henry C. Jr. and Robert Q. Todd Jr. as well, which right now, both of them hold a large chunk of the shares of Synergy. So when everything is said and done, when the shares are also sold, the total amount of shares that will be available to the public will be around 20%, which also follows the mandate of the PSC that they would like to at least have a 20% float for companies that are actually listed. The proceeds of this follow-on offering would be to subscribe to non-voting preferred shares that will be issued by NGCP. So to make it easy, the money that's raised will be used to buy preferred shares brought about or given by or issued by NGCP. The capex of NGCP from 2021 to 2025 would be around 160 billion pesos. As you all know, as the needs of the country continues, capacity for electricity would continue to increase as well. So I think as our country continues to progress and as more businesses start also to thrive and as we start to connect also other portions of the country to sustainable electricity, the demand for this, or at least capital expenditures for the company, will be very, very warranted as well. Allow me to make more videos on this as we look at their earnings also over the past few years. But this is something that if you want something that's somehow steady, somehow stable, if you have been watching our videos on tech stocks, on innovation, on electric vehicles, on solar, etc., those are in the cutting edge of where we will be in the next few years. But if you want something that's based in the Philippines, that's defensive, that's local, that will give you a steady revenue stream, then this is something that you could also look into. I guess one of the things that you have to also consider, it's pretty much the same as from our other videos, that of course looking at the track record of their earnings, but also looking at based on the price that it will be listed on, and then comparing it to its earnings per share, what will be the PE ratio for this? Is this something that's relatively cheap, or is this at the higher end? Because also similar to a style that you could also employ, if it's relatively more expensive, wait for it to list, then check price action, then if there's a shot that there will be a correction someday, you could also swoop in and start to buy more. Two things that you have to consider when you're buying companies, that you're buying a good and growing company, but above and beyond that, you also have to look at, are you getting it at a good value based on the price that you are getting for it? Above and beyond that, the other fundamental indicators that we look at, from ROE to are they giving out dividends as well, the level of debt and the level of cash that they have. So there, I hope that this was something that was helpful. And again, I'm a advocate of having more options for Filipinos and having a diverse options on where they could actually invest. So please do your due diligence, check if this is something that fits you, check if this is an investment that fits your portfolio. I'm sure that a lot of you already have positions right now, so check in terms of diversification. Is this something that will be a hedge versus the other stocks that you own, or is this something that will complement the current stocks that you own as well? And ganun din, for those who are into the crypto markets, it's a good balance also to have a variety of assets that are totally unrelated as well. So because at the end of the day, we can't control where the market will be in the next 10 years, but we can control how we deploy our capital, we can control how we diversify, we can control how we manage our risk, and we can control by putting in more money into an asset that we have the most conviction into. And conviction is something that's based on your experience, on what you learned and what you actually know, because at the end of the day, we all will have different convictions, and we will all have different biases also when it comes to where we want to invest. So there, please put your questions down below as we'll continually do a deep dive on this over the next few weeks. And as more and more companies raise money over the next few months, we're going to cover it, we're going to talk about it, and we're just going to share insights about this as well. So there, I hope that this is something that's helpful for all of you. If you want to learn more about the stock market, I've written 5 books which are available in National Bookstore, Shopee, and Lazada. If you want to check them out, they're all in the description below. We also have seminars about it. We have one last one for the end of the year, which is pretty much centered on technical analysis. Check them out in the description below. And I hope that this is something that's beneficial for you, and this is something that gave you tremendous value. If you want more of this, like, share, subscribe, and smash the bell so you get updated every time I come up with new content about investing. This is Marvin Gurmo. I hope this video helps you trade well, trade strong, trade smart. See you all again soon, and God bless you all.